My name is Alyssa Horne, and today I am going to be talking to you about gifted and talented students. Today we will talk about what gifted and talented mean, characteristics and traits of giftedness, and the 6 different profiles or types of gifted individuals. First, let's explore the question, why do we need to know these things as classroom teachers? Gifted children will not reach their fullest potential if we, the classroom teachers, are not providing the quality differentiation and appropriate opportunities for academic growth to meet the needs of gifted learners. Gifted children are identified by their strengths rather than being identified by deficiencies like other exceptional children. Our gifted learners require modifications, just as our exceptional children with deficiencies do. Without these modifications, we are not providing support for our gifted learners to reach their fullest potential. So, what exactly does gifted and talented mean? There are many terms used to describe gifted learners, but one thing that is in common for all terminology is that the designation is for children who are exhibiting the ability or potential for learning at advanced levels in one or more areas. Each state or district will have its own definition of gifted, which can be found on the state's education website. The state of North Carolina provides the following definition found on the Department of Public Instruction website under the Students and Families tab. It states, academically or intellectually gifted students perform or show the potential to perform at substantially higher levels of accomplishment when compared with others of their age, experiences, or environment. Academically or intellectually gifted students exhibit high performance capability in intellectual areas, specific academic fields, or in both the intellectual areas and specific academic fields. The National Association for Gifted Children highlights some important notes to remember when talking about gifted and talented children. Gifted and talented students come from all racial, ethnic, and cultural populations, as well as economic strata. This means there is a wide range of students who could be identified when identification procedure is followed and can result in a more equitable process. Gifted and talented students require sufficient access to appropriate learning opportunities to realize their potential. In order for gifted and talented students to have increased success, they need access to well-designed programs that both challenge and support their learning. Gifted and talented students can have learning and processing disorders that require specialized intervention and accommodation. Some students can and will be twice exceptional. This means that accurate identification of both the advanced ability and disability play an important role for these students to receive appropriate education and support in both areas. Gifted and talented students need support and guidance to develop socially and emotionally, as well as in their areas of talent. Asynchronous development, or aspects of development not developing at the same pace, is a common problem among gifted students. This means that it is important for educators to be mindful that not all students who are advanced in one area will also be developing at the same pace in other areas, such as socially or emotionally. Now that we have talked about the North Carolina definition of gifted and talented and some important notes to remember about our gifted learners, let's talk about some of the characteristics and traits of giftedness. Recognizing common traits and characteristics of gifted learners will allow teachers to be prepared to recognize them in the classroom and seek the appropriate strategies and support for these students. Gifted learners are diverse, and it is important to keep in mind that there is no one set of characteristics to describe every gifted student. While keeping in mind that all gifted learners are different, there are some common characteristics that are seen in gifted and talented students, such as the ability to comprehend material several grade levels above their peers, a surprising emotional depth and sensitivity at a young age, a strong sense of curiosity, enthusiasm about unique interests and topics, a quirky or mature sense of humor, creative problem solving and imaginative expression, being self-aware, socially aware, and aware of global issues. Let's take a look now at some traits of giftedness. Traits of giftedness are grouped into 4 categories: cognitive, creative, affective, and behavioral. Gifted individuals can display a mix of these traits. Cognitive traits include interest in problem solving, early reading, large vocabulary, intellectual curiosity, persistent and goal-directed behavior, independence in work and study, and diverse interests and abilities. Creative traits include creativeness and inventiveness, keen sense of humor, ability for fantasy, wide interests, intuitiveness, flexibility, independence in attitude and social behavior, and self-acceptance and unconcern for social norms. Affective traits include unusual emotional depth and intensity, sensitivity or empathy to the feelings of others, high expectations of self and others, which can lead to frustration, heightened self-awareness, which can lead to feelings of being different, the need for emotional support, and idealism and a sense of justice. Behavioral traits include spontaneity, boundless enthusiasm, intensely focused passions, which can lead to resistance when changing activities if engrossed in one's own interests, highly energetic, constantly questioning, insatiable curiosity, impulsivity, perseverance, high levels of frustration, which is often seen when difficulty meeting standards of performance arise, volatile temper, and nonstop talking. The 6 different types of or profiles of gifted individuals was studied by George Betts and Maureen Nehart. The study included gifted individuals' feelings, attitudes, behaviors, needs, adult and peer perceptions, identification, home, and school support. The 6 profiles they listed are the successful, the challenging, the underground, the dropouts, the double-labeled, and the autonomous learner. First, we have the successful. These students often listen to parents and teachers, learn well, and can score high on achievement tests, are eager for approval, often become bored with school, and go through the motions to continue getting reinforcement from adults. The problem that arises from this pattern is that these students often struggle as adults with the ever-changing challenges of life that may arise. This is due to them not having the appropriate skills for lifelong learning. Next, we have the challenging. These students often have a high degree of creativity, may appear to be obstinate or sarcastic, question authority and often have conflict, may challenge peers or have a sense of humor and creativity that appeals to others, often struggle with self-esteem. Many of these students can feel frustrated that their gifts and talents are not being recognized, and this can lead to larger problems later in schooling and adulthood for these students. The next type we have is the underground. These students are oftentimes middle school females who want to feel more included with non-gifted peers, have feelings of insecurity and anxiousness, have conflicts arise with teacher and parent expectations with their current changing needs, often benefit from being accepted as they are at the time. It is important that during the time of transition, alternative ways of meeting academic needs should be attended to in order to help these students reach their long-term goals. The next type we have is the dropouts. These students are often children who are identified later in schooling, feel that the system has not met their needs and interests. Their interests typically fall outside a regular curriculum, and they have not received support in these areas. Their self-esteem is low, and they have feelings of anger and rejection. In the case of this profile, it is likely recommended that counseling be brought in for both the individual and the family. The next type we have is the double-labeled. These students are gifted students who are also physically or emotionally handicapped or have a learning disability. They often do not exhibit behaviors that schools look for in gifted students, which can create feelings of rejection and isolation. They urgently want to avoid failures. This can lead to school systems focusing on their weaknesses and not fully nurturing their talents. It is important that all educational support available be delivered to these students so that they are receiving support for both their strengths and weaknesses. The final type we have is the autonomous learner. These students create new opportunities for themselves, have strong, positive self-concepts, receive positive attention and support for their accomplishments, are independent and self-directed. These students feel they can create change in their own lives and in their goals. They do not wait on others to help them change, and they can express their feelings and goals freely and appropriately. Now, you may be asking yourself, where do I go from here? Now that you have learned more about what giftedness is, the characteristics and traits of giftedness, and the different profiles or types of gifted learners, take a look and think about the students in your classroom now. How can you use this information to better support your learners? How can you use this information, as well as the AIG supports in your school, to differentiate your instruction and meet the needs of these learners? I hope this information has helped you to answer these questions and inspired you to learn more about gifted children in your classroom and to support these learners in order to help them reach their full potential. If you are interested in some of the resources I used, or you are looking for more information on the topics in this presentation, I have included a list of resources here for you to explore.